Hey everybody, this is Jack Chris and from Multiples Magic, and we're gonna take a look at the Behringer Grind today. If you own a Behringer Crave like I do, you'll notice many similarities. The build quality is the same, solid metal chassis with the nice touch of the wood on the ends. You have your MIDI channel controls here, right? You can see I've got it on MIDI channel 2. I'm controlling a circuit tracks by MIDI. I'll talk about how to set that up in a different video. This is just an overview of the Behringer Grind. You have the USB port. You can update your firmware, connect to the Behringer app. Here's your power button and the power for AC coming in. Up top, you have the MIDI in and out, along with the patch bay, just like the Crave. It is a different setup than the Crave, but the same setup. We've got the white letters with the white background for the inputs and the black background with the white letters for the outputs. And you can patch those. We'll get into some patching. If you have any patching idea requests, let me know in the comments. But like I said today, this is kind of an introductory. I just got the Behringer Grind, and I can't wait to really check it out. So the first thing we're really going to do is get into the oscillator section. The oscillator is where it all begins. It's your sound source for your synthesizer, and it actually is throwing voltage throughout your synthesizer. Big difference between the Behringer Crave and the Behringer Grind, is that these are digital oscillators. And like I said, there's a virtual analog, and we're going to get to that soon. There are 3 different banks, bank A, bank B. And if you look closely, you can see that this is based off, let me get that into focus for you. This is based off of the Brains Eurorack module by Behringer. So they've worked that into a semi-modular synth here in the Grind, which is pretty awesome. Gives you a lot of different options. There are 10 different models for each of the red and green banks. Goes through all 10. There are, like I said, pictorial representations of each of those. And then we have the amber or yellow colored bank, and there are 4 so far. And I say so far because in the manual, Behringer has left the rest of these, the remaining 6, for future updates. Hopefully we'll see those. But anyways, without further ado, the oscillator section is made up of, or has the timbre or timbre knob, followed by the harmonics, the frequency, and the morphing knob. We also have, similar to the Crave, we have a filter section. The voltage controlled filter, like I said, it's throwing voltage around here. So the filter is the voltage controlled filter and has your standard cutoff resonance and VCF modulation. You have a low pass and a high pass filter. Low pass sending the low frequencies through, and the high pass, you can hear it, a high pass filter. Big difference. We're going to start off, like I said, with the red bank. There, you can really hear the difference. Low frequency. And the you can see the LFO rate is cutting in and out, pulse wave. We'll get to that in a second. So yes, you can have a low pass or high pass filter. We also have the resonance knob. We'll get into that later. Let's move on though. We have the VCA section. We can control your volume. There are 3 different settings, actually, and you can see that. We have envelope, where it's tied in with the envelope. Then we also have a low-pass gate, which really gives you a unique sound. And you'll have to use that when we get to the formant options later on. And also we have just plain old on. There it is. It's on. You hear it. Okay. Make sure I don't forget anything. Okay. We also have the envelope. Like I was talking about, we have an envelope section. We have attack, decay, and sustain. Notice there is no release. The release is the same as the decay. I'll get into more detail in a different video on the envelope. We also have the vibrato section. You can oscillate your modulation. That's there. You also have LFO rate. Talked about that a little bit. You can hear it going off and on with the pulse wave modulation. Square wave. Triangle. We also have a glide section where you can control the glide between the notes. So without glide, then we have width. I'll turn it to a mid-level. All the way up. Glides down to the lower note, glides back up to the higher octave. And then we have the VC mix knob, which really doesn't come into account until you start patching. You control this knob with various patching, and we'll get into that in another video too. And at the very bottom, we have the sequencer section. This does have a sequencer. You can sequence some notes. Add a little swing to it, you noticed. You also have an arpeggiator. We'll get into the sequencer section in another video as well. But let's jump ahead and get right into the different banks and models that we can offer. This is the first one, the virtual analog setting. And the knobs have a different function based on whatever bank you're in or whatever model you're in. So, for example, the virtual analog model I accidentally adjusted the frequency knob. There we go. Okay, so we have the virtual analog model. The timbre knob controls the square wave, narrow pulse, full square, hard sync formant as you rotate. Whereas the harmonic knob controls the detuning between waves. And the morph knob controls the saw shape, and it morphs it from triangle to wide notch saw. Let's check it out. virtual analog. Let's take a look at the next model, which is the wave shaping. The timbre knob controls the wave folder amount. So we got some wave folding going on here in the grind, which is something you don't have in the crave. More of a West Coast buchla style wave shaping, wave folding. Harmonics controls wave shape or waveform. The morph knob controls the waveform symmetry. If you were to visualize this, it's kind of leaning. Down here, I was just pressing and putting it into a different octave. You can do that in your sequencer section. All right, let's go on to our third model, and that is FM2 operators is the name of it. The timbre controls the modulation mix. It's a little nasty there. Then we've got frequency ratio controlled by the harmonics knob. Just switch to triangle wave to get that click out of there. Okay, and then we've got the morph knob. At the 12 o'clock position, the operator 2 modulates its own phase. Less than 12 o'clock, operator 2 modulates operator 1 phase. I feel like I'm on the Enterprise. All right, that is model 3. Let's move on to the next, which is grains, which is kind of cool. So we're gonna move into somewhat of a formant frequency, and the timbre controls exactly that. Formant frequency. Whereas the harmonics knob controls the frequency between formant 1 and 2. And the morph controls formant width and shape. Moving on to the next model, which will be additive. And we have the timbre. controls the most prominent harmonic. Harmonic knob controls the number of bumps in spectrum. The morph knob controls bump shape, flat and wide to peaked and narrow. Moving on to the next model is chords. And the timbre knob, or timbre knob, controls the chord inversion or transposition. Harmonics controls the chord type. Morph controls the waveform. Next model, speech. So in speech, I prefer to use the low pass gate. So you've got the vocal timbre from deep to high. Then, when you move on to the harmonics knob, you get a scrolling through formant types. You hear it saying red. Okay, speaking of that, the morph controls
yellow, green,
kind of speaks for itself.
green, blue, indigo, indigo, violet, 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 violet,
Now check this out. So we can, I'm going to go back to the harmonics knob. Oh boy. BCA.
Operator, modulator, knob, generator, electronic, clock, wind log, 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 wind log.
Okay, so you can have a lot of fun with that. With that, you can hear the reverb kind of muffles the enunciation, I should say. All right, so the next model we're going to take a look at is the Carpless Strong. Here it is, Carpless Strong. Let me reset everything. So the timbre moves through brightness and dust noise sensitivity. Whereas harmonics adjust the string stiffness. And the morph controls the decay time. Interesting. Let's move on to Super Saw. The timbre controls the number of waveforms. Adjust the harmonic content with harmonics. Whereas morph sets the sub-oscillator level. Kind of warms it up a bit. Next model is the wavetable oscillator, which will be the last of from the red bank, or bank A. Okay, so it rotates through different waves. And the harmonics selects between 4 interpolated banks, followed by the same 4 banks in reverse order without interpolation. So here we go. I blew out your ears a little bit there. Okay, so that was the red bank, and let's speed things up and we'll move on to the green bank. The green bank, we start off with the first four settings, rain, noise, and dust, really are better off in the envelope setting for the VCA. So we'll keep it there. The first one's rain, and the timbre knob controls the rain density. Then the harmonics controls pitch randomization. The morph knob has an interesting function where it controls droplet duration and overlap. Kind of the stuff of horror films. Then the next model is noise. This controls clock frequency with the timbre knob. Harmonics scrolls through filter response from low pass to band pass to high pass. Knob, filter resonance. Time for some dust. This is the next model. Timbre controls particle density. Frequency randomization once again for the harmonics knob. The morph knob scrolls through reverberating all pass filters, followed by increasingly resonant bandpass filter. Interesting. Next up, modal strings. Now, for these next remaining models under the green or B bank, I prefer to... I am very sorry about that. I'm going to turn down the volume. Switch. Switch to low pass gate. Okay, now we're at modal strings. And once again, you can see which bank you're on by the pictorial representation. No, right, like I said, modal strings, you can kind of see strings there. It's really kind of tiny, but if you look closely, it's there. So we have modal strings. I find myself turning up the morph knob. There we go. Okay, so it really changes the excitation brightness and dust density. The timbre knob. The harmonics controls the amount of harmonic coloration. I've noticed that with the grind, we're going in pulse mode. You get a click here and there. Okay. And then when you move on to the morph knob, you control decay time. So the next few banks, the next 6 actually, under the green or bank B, are actually percussion. Though important, I am going to skip through them. They are listed as FM drum, bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, cowbell, and toms. You can shape them as you see fit, and you can make some pretty cool sounds with those. But I'm going to move on to the last bank, which is the yellow bank. And it has 4 models. Behringer plans on releasing more. They are listed in the manual as slots for expansion. That would be 5 through 10. So without further ado, let's get into the BX7. I noticed online that it's listed as the DX7. But in the manual it's BX7, so you can, try to figure out what they meant by that. But I know that having a DX7, Yamaha DX7, a lot of the presets sound similar to these. So here we go. This is BX7, and it's the timbre knob controls vibrato. Clearly, the harmonics knob controls the preset selection. Quite a few presets to choose from. If you are familiar with the DX7, you'll notice some familiarity. Whereas timbre controls vibrato, morph controls tremolo. Pretty cool sounds to choose from, but let's move on to the next model, which is bassline. Better move it down an octave for this. So timbre controls the cutoff. If you want some resonance, here comes. And distortion by the harmonics knob. Morph controls envelope mod and decay. Moving on to the next model is wave generator. Different waveforms are controlled by timbre. And then we've got bit crushing. I'm going to move it back down. Bit crushing. Next up, we have. Oh, sorry, sample right here. Next model we have is Vox. One thing I noticed with this, they've thrown the frequency knob here. I accidentally hit it and wonder what's wrong, but yeah, be careful with that. So with Vox, you've got your formant chip controlled by shift, controlled by the timbre knob. Resolution. Blend vowels with the morph knob. And that's it for the engines of the oscillator section of the Behringer Grind. Quite a few to choose from. Some you may like, some you may not care for. That's the case for me, but that's fine. I do prefer a good analog oscillator section, but that's just my personal opinion. So we've got the digital oscillators here featured in this video. If you want to see more, I'm planning to do the patch bay next, and also a focus on filter, envelope, modulation, And we'll do a whole video on the sequencer and arpeggiation of the Behringer Grind, which is pretty cool. And there's got some unique modes that are kind of hidden. I can show you those too. If you like this video, please like it. Subscribe if you haven't. If you have, thank you so much. Hit the bell to get notifications when there's a new video arriving. And also, please leave some comments in the comment section if you have any suggestions, if you want me to, feature something else that I didn't think of in this video. Please feel free. And all right, we'll leave you with that. I know personally my favorite bank is the red bank, but all right. This is Jet Chris out.